So let's bring in Professor. Titled Insecurity from Expansionist Terrorists, Not Conflict, is the wicked problem in Benue. Wicked problem in Benue. Why did you qualify problem as wicked?
Yeah, insecurity in Benue State and in North Central in recent times has become a wicked problem because it has defied, all solutions seemingly, and it is also making policy responses, flat. The policy responses are not hitting the right notes in terms of solving the problems. And I feel it is because it keeps mutating. And we keep our gaze fixed in tracking, the evolution or the trajectory of the problem. Our failure to do this is why we are giving an interpretation of yesterday to a problem of today. And that is why it has become a wicked problem. Seemingly go away, a nagging problem. Go away, a nagging problem. But in this particular case, you can't call it a conflict any longer. Why? Because you have a situation in which there's a deliberate, organized, and systematic attack, to attack, to dispossess a particular community or dislocate them of their, And we have seen instances of this in other parts of the country. We won't be able to harvest, And what do you see in turn is that these places are now occupied, So when I saw the call for reconciliation, I was worried that, okay, before you can talk of either a ceasefire or a reconciliation, it means the two parties in conflict must have come to a shared understanding that, okay, we need to put an end to the war between us. Let us explore options or ways out of this conflict. But in a situation in which I am determined to take your car away from you, or to take your clothes or your belongings away from you, that is no longer a conflict by any shred of analysis. What away from you? That is no longer a conflict by any shred of analysis. What I'm doing is the tactics of terror.
Live. That is Professor Gbemishola Animashaun of the Center for Peace and Strategic Studies, University of Ilorin. Are you there? So what we see in the Plateau tragedy is a mirror head up to Nigeria's mind. A nation that protects its powerful while its poor are slaughtered in their sleep. That is the picture we see. The state is incapable of defending the people of the state. That is what we see. So that is part of state failure. We see a land where democracy has not really lifted the people out of violence to stare directly at its darkest chapters, will find itself trapped in endless reruns of the same nightmare. Are you there? I make the point this morning that nations that refuse to share or stare directly at their darkest chapters will find themselves trapped in endless reruns of the same nightmare. History doesn't repeat. History, it's a rhyme. Or history, it's rhymes. You see, human psychology follows predictable patterns. You see, human psychology follows predictable patterns. What has changed, perhaps, is technology. Carnage did in Cambodia. When they did that, they created the perfect conditions for Pol Pot's rise. A paranoid peasantry with little education took over the country. For Pol Pot's rise, a paranoid peasantry with little education took over the country. Read about Pol Pot's memories under the Pacto del Oviedo. That pact can be called the Pact of Forgetting. The Catalonian independence movement became its Frankenstein monster. Somebody was asking me, why have you been paying a lot of focus on your YouTube on the Nigerian Civil War? I said, because. Why have you been paying a lot of focus on your YouTube on the Nigerian Civil War? I said, because the essence of this class is to learn from